In this video tutorial, I am going to discuss about exons and introns. Now, to better understand about exons and introns, we have to first talk about certain things in prokaryotes as well as eukaryotes. See, in the prokaryotes, what happens? Suppose this is the DNA of prokaryotes. Okay. We know that prokaryotic DNA is the circular, but I am just showing the portion of the DNA. That's why I had shown it in the linear fashion. Now, in this prokaryotic piece of DNA, suppose this is a location of some gene A. This is gene A. So, when this gene undergoes transcription, so what happens? Starting from this and ending at this place, RNA gets synthesized. So, this is the RNA and this is the 5' end and this is the 3' end. So, as per the template, counter nucleotides are added in the RNA, and suppose this is the mRNA, so that we can explain the translation also. This mRNA undergoes translation. So, what happens? So, suppose this is the translation start site and suppose this is the translation termination signal. So, this is termination signal and this is the starting signal. So, starting from this and ending with this length of mRNA codes for the protein. So, protein gets synthesized. This is the N terminal and this is the C terminal of the protein. So, in the bacteria or in the prokaryotes, most of the genes behave in this way. It is very simple and very straightforward, right? What happens in case of eukaryotes? In case of eukaryotes, things become complicated. So, let us try to understand. Suppose this is the double stranded DNA, only just a portion of the double stranded DNA, and suppose this is gene B, this highlighted area is the gene B. Okay. Here also this gene can undergo transcription. So, transcription is the synthesis of RNA from the DNA. So, starting from this and ending with this, RNA gets synthesized. So, this is the RNA. Suppose this is the 5' end and this is the 3' end. And suppose this is the mRNA. This transcription is the nuclear process. It occurs in the nucleus. Now, eventually what happens? This mRNA has to transport it to the cytoplasm. Why? Because in the cytoplasm, there is a translation machinery. Translation occurs only in the cytoplasm. So, let us make a boundary of nucleus and cytoplasm. So, this is the nuclear membrane. On upper side we have a nucleus and on the lower side we have a cytoplasm, and this is the nuclear membrane. Now, what happens? This mRNA needs to transport it into the cytoplasm. So, this mRNA appears in the cytoplasm. But what happens? It is observed that the cytoplasmic mRNA is very short length as compared to this nuclear counterpart. So, the same RNA appears in the cytoplasm, but its length is very, very short. Now, why this happens? It was unknown earlier in the history before 1977. Just this thing was known that nuclear mRNA is very long, whereas the cytoplasmic mRNA, it is very short. So, this is also mRNA. And this shorter mRNA is the functional RNA. So, it is known as mature mRNA. And this nuclear mRNA is not functional. It cannot undergo translation. So, this was an immature mRNA or the pre-mRNA. It is also known as a primary transcript. Now, something is happening before transportation to the cytoplasm, that something is happening with this pre-mRNA, some changes are occurring, and so this mRNA is short. So, at that time, 3 theories were put forward. So, one theory was that some 5' exon nucleus acts on this mRNA and digests its 5' end. So, the cytoplasmic mRNA is shorter. So, the first theory, these are the theories, that because of 5' exon nucleus, this mRNA is getting shortened. The second theory was that, similar to 5' exonuclease, second theory said that 3' exonuclease enzymes might be there which are digesting from the 3' end, and so the cytoplasmic mRNA is shorter. So, second theory blamed 3' exonuclease. And the third theory, and it was lesser believed, that neither 5' nor 3' exonucleases are working, but some internal sequences are getting destroyed somehow. Suppose this sequence is destroyed, then this sequence is destroyed, then this sequence is destroyed. So only the remaining portion of this mRNA are joined together and gives a shorter mature mRNA. So internal splicing is responsible for this shorter mRNA, right? So let us try to understand which theory is correct. So this theory was nullified. Why? Because in the nuclear mRNA, on the 5' side, there is a cap structure. There is a cap, that is 7-methyl guanosine. The 7-methyl guanosine cape is there on this nuclear mRNA, and the same cape is seen in the cytoplasmic mRNA also. So that means no one is attacking from the 5' side. If someone is attacking from the 5' side, then this cap must be destroyed, and this is not the case. It is actually seen in the cytoplasmic mRNA. So this theory was thrown away. What about 3' exonuclease? On the 3' side of the mRNA, which is in the nucleus, there is a poly-A tail, right? Polyadenylated tail is seen, and the same tail is also seen in the cytoplasmic mRNA. So this is a tail. So that means no any 3' exonuclease is acting on this pre-mRNA from the 3' side. So this theory was also thrown away. Remaining theory is internal splicing. This internal splicing, that means some of the internal sequences are getting destroyed before transporting this pre-mRNA to the cytoplasmic mRNA. At earlier in the history, this theory was considered as a bizarre theory. No one believed this theory that this thing cannot happen, that internal sequences randomly they are getting removed. But things changed in the 1977, where two scientists were there. First was Philip Sharp, and second was Richard Roberts. These two scientists had independently done some experiment and proved that this theory is correct, that internal splicing occurs. This internal splicing occurs, some of the internal sequences are lost and remaining express sequences are joined together in the mature mRNA. So now this theory is accepted, okay, that is the internal splicing. They had given the name that these sequences which are not being expressed, they call them as intervening sequences. So this is also intervening sequence, this is also intervening sequence, and this is also intervening sequence. So all these three are intervening sequence, and in the short they are known as introns. Whereas this part which is being expressed, it is known as express sequence. So these and these all are the expressed sequences, and these expressed sequences in the short form they are known as exons. So remember, exons join together and makes up the mature mRNA, whereas introns are removed, they are intervening sequences. Once this mature mRNA is formed, then only it can undergo translation, and this translation is the cytoplasmic process, and it can give rise to N-terminal to C-terminal protein, right? So in our pre-mRNA, we have two parts. One is exon and other is intron. Exons and introns. Maximum part of pre-mRNA is occupied by this intron. Maximum part of pre-mRNA is of the intron as compared to the exons. Now to appreciate this sentence, average length of intron is approximately 3500 nucleotides, whereas exon, their average size is approximately 150 nucleotides. Okay. Now regarding the exon, the largest exon or the longest exon is seen in the one protein encoding gene, that is titin encoding gene. So in the titin encoding gene, there are so many different exons are there. Out of this exon, one exon is there and its length is 17,106 nucleotide. Okay, so this much bigger exon can be also seen. Whereas if we talk about introns, the longest intron is seen in the dystrophin encoding gene. Dystrophin encoding gene, or the gene of dystrophin. In this dystrophin encoding gene, there are so many introns are found, but the longest intron, one of the intron is longest and its length is 8 lakh nucleotides. 8 lakh nucleotide. You can easily compare. See, the longest intron is the 8 lakh nucleotides long, whereas the longest exon is only 17,106 nucleotide long. And average length of exon is only 150 nucleotide, whereas average length of intron is 3,500 nucleotide. Let us talk something more about these two protein, exon and titin and dystrophins. This titin is the largest known single chain protein. It is the largest known single chain protein. It is found in the muscle. Dystrophin is also found in the muscle, but its gene is the largest known gene. It's the largest known gene. Protein is still shorter than this titin, but its dystrophin's gene is the largest known gene, whereas the titin, its gene is shorter, but it's the largest known single chain protein. Okay. Now, you may think that how many introns can occur? How many introns can occur? So, the minimum limit is 0. See, most of the eukaryotic genes contain introns, not all the genes. Okay. So, minimum of the 0 intron can be seen. That means it just acts like a prokaryotic gene. Okay. No any introns are there. So, just like this, the full length of mRNA can encode it to the protein. So, this example of 0 intron is the histone encoding gene or the histone gene. It doesn't contain any intron, whereas the maximum number of possible introns are 364. This 364 intron may occur, and again this highest number of introns occur in the titin gene. Again, this same protein encoding gene, in which maximum numbers of introns are seen. On an average, 7.8 introns occur. 7.8 introns occur per gene. So, you take total number of introns and total number of genes, divide it, and you will get this figure. So, 7.8 introns are there on an average per gene in humans. So, this was some of the statistic regarding exons and introns. Okay. So, now let us talk more about the transcription and this modification. So, we know that in the transcription, 3 things occur. 3 major steps of the transcription occur. First, initiation occurs. Then as a second step, elongation occurs. And the third step, termination occurs. And if that is a case with the mRNA, there are certain modifications. So, modifications in mRNA are: first, 5' cap occurs, formation of 5' cap. Then as a second step, there is a gene splicing occurs. And as a third step, there is a 3' poly-A tail formation occurs. Now, when does this modification takes place? Whether before transcription, after transcription, or during transcription? So, the answer is 5' cap formation occurs just between the boundary of initiation and elongation. As soon as initiation finishes and elongation starts, at this phase 5' capping occurs between initiation and elongation. This actually defines a boundary between initiation and elongation. Then second chain, that is gene splicing occur. When does this occur? It occurs during the elongation is going on. So, simultaneously with the elongation, gene splicing occurs. So, more and more 5' end of the mRNA forms and their intron starts getting removed. when does this 3' poly A tail formation occurs? This poly A tail, by intuition, it seems that it could occur after termination. Okay, but it is not the case. This 3' poly A tail occurs just before termination. Actually, on one side termination is going on another side there is a poly A tail formation occurs. Now this is very hard to believe. We might think that 3' poly A tail can be added once 3' end of the mRNA is formed, and when 3' end of the 3' end of mRNA is formed, only when termination occurs. But no, it's a very smart mechanism, and so I had explained this in my one of the previous video of the poly A tail formation. You can go and visit that video so that you can better understand that this 3' poly A tail occurs just before the termination. Actually, termination and poly A tail occurs simultaneously. Okay. So generally all the literature suggests this major modification in the mRNA is a post-transcriptional modification. But I believe that this term is the misnomer. It is the wrong term. It should not be used. Instead of post-transcriptional modification, co-transcriptional modification. Co-transcriptional modification is the better word. Why? Because this modification is occurring simultaneously when the transcription is going on, not once transcription finishes, right? So all the literature, although they suggest post-transcriptional modification, this terminology, but smartly it's a co-transcriptional modification. I hope everything is clear. In the next video, we will discuss about how exons are joined together and introns are removed. So if you have any query or confusion, please write it down in the comment section below. Thank you.